All right, here we go. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
He's ready. And he needs his song, so let's do this thing. The Finance AF Podcast.
Back in Lucas's room.
The one, the only, John Jessel, non-CFP.
And the great Alex Fernandez, officially licensed CFP.
Oh, welcome back, everybody.
One of these days I'm going to screw up and say like CPA or something like that.
I would take the credit even though I'm not a CPA.
That'd be a good feather to put
I'd be like, CFP, I would definitely consider the CPA.
Yeah, I know you've talked about it before.
Yeah, I think right now I got enough on my plate to focus on what I'm doing here, and I got a couple of good CPAs, fortunately, in my corner who know what they're doing very, very well, so I'll focus on this now, but I would not be opposed to CPA if I saw the opportunity to do it. I mean, again, I already know a good amount about tax, but the more you can know, the more dangerous of a financial planner it'll be. So, and it's funny because when it comes to like the investments, I feel like a lot of people feel uncomfortable about the investments, but no one's afraid to call their accountant.
No.
You know what I mean? People like don't want to call their financial planner because it makes them uncomfortable with this. But when it comes to taxes, everyone's like, bring, bring. What do I do about these taxes? Help me with that, please.
Put more money back in my pocket, please.
I guess when it comes down to you have to pay the money out of your pocket to do the thing, people care. When you have to give up your money to invest, they're like, I don't know if I want to do that.
It's not as much a trigger.
Oh my gosh. So you were about to say, we were about to get talking, I cut you off so that we could talk about it on here.
No, yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
I was watching, huge shout out to Caleb Hammer. I was watching a live stream he was doing, and what I thought was interesting to talk about was some new information studies that they've been discussing that people living from home, younger generation in the 18 to 34 range, believe it or not, are now moving back home
like
to
with
save
their parents?
with their family or a relative to save money, which I thought was interesting, and that was something Caleb mentioned too, because he was talking about how that threshold's usually at 18 to like 26, maybe 27. So to see the numbers, I think it was like a third of kids.
A third. That's a wild number.
It's a huge.
I mean, it doesn't shock me necessarily because I feel like I have felt like I've seen that a good bunch, but a third is a lot.
Mm-hmm. And again, so I just found that really interesting, and the reason I wanted to talk about it is because, and by no way, shape, or form am I saying anything or bashing if that's something you're currently in. I think it's super important to figure out whatever your goals are in doing it. But the takeaway is that we were seeing that a lot of people are doing it, but still not
getting ahead.
The idea is you move home, you save money, or if they do charge you rent, your family members or friends, it's a smaller amount so that you can, live comfortably and not have to squeeze, still be able to buy things.
100%.
And all that
save. So it makes total sense.
It's a great strategy, but it's not being utilized that way. And if we can see from the trends of the economy right now, consumer spend is like all-time highs right now.
No doubt about it.
The amount of money coming out is just... And that to me is something I was like, okay, like this would be fun to talk about because, again, everyone's situation is different. There is nothing wrong with going that route. But
let's talk about let's again, we're here to be real, right? That's what we're here to do. We're here to be real about it because again, yes, if you are pooling resources with your family to give yourself a launching point to get ahead, that is potentially awesome strategy to utilize because again, when you look at like other cultures, it's kind of funny because I've had this conversation before about like other cultures, and you look at like
he talked about that
like
too.
Asian cultures, for example, like that is like a thing where like the families like stay together and they do it, and it makes total sense when you think about it because again, at the end of the day, they pool resources, they pool labor, they all help each other out, and the family gets ahead together, which makes total sense because in most families, whatever I'm earning is eventually an inheritance for my kids anyway. So why wouldn't it makes sense to bring them in, help them simultaneously.
Watch them enjoy it.
They help me, and it kind of is a transition over time as opposed to it being my life, my money, my finances, and then shifting it over to the kids when I die. I mean, like, it makes total sense, not only from like a education for the kids, but also, again, pooling resources to get ahead. If we did that here in this country effectively, people could crush. But I think the problem lies in the fact that, like, that's not necessarily the real deep-rooted motive of the people that we're talking about.
No, for sure.
The motive is, I can't afford this. I don't want to pay for this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So living where I don't have to pay as much is just like seems like a good idea. And again, at that point, when you kind of enter it on that foot, it's not a constructive financial plan, right? It's more so just like, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to sit here and hang out until I figure it out. And that is where like the huge difference becomes on it. And I think it is crazy because not only with like living with because I think I haven't noticed at 33%, that number is crazy. It
may not be. It is definitely high.
If it's even close to that,
I'm pretty sure it's close to that.
If it's even because that just shows like what a cultural shift like we're kind of in. I mean, it just shows like.
But it's not for the same constructive, like you said. I don't feel like it's not for the same level of constructive process and mentality that you were just suggesting.
No, it's more like it's acceptable to not go get it.
Yeah, and again, I feel like that the people that at least that were being interviewed or discussed when I was watching was they want to do this, but they don't want to change their spend habits or lifestyle.
Of course.
So it's like that is the mix. Okay, so they're going to cut out on all their rent, buying a house, a mortgage, whatever it is, live at home, pay nothing or pay a smaller amount, but they still want
keep buying Pokemon cards.
They want to buy collectibles. They want to buy their clothes. They want to travel. Like, I mean, the amount of people that I've seen that talk about how struggling they are, and they have 2 trips planned at the end of the year.
100%.
That to me is like, okay.
Too often.
It's you're saying one thing, but your actions are dictating another. So I don't know. It's kind of a.
See, and
it's similar. Look, when I finished school, I worked in Miami. My family lived like right behind where I worked. So I worked a deal and, I paid them X amount of money. As I increased in my career and grew more money, that went up because, again, I was able to afford more. But it was, again, to your point, a very team effort, I helped around the house, kept an eye on things.
Yep. And so let's use that point right there to kind of basically say, so if you're listening to this at this point, it might sound like we are trashing the young people who are doing this type of stuff or living with their parents. And let's be super clear, like this, because let's look at your situation that you just described right there. You obviously are a go-getter. You don't really need to be kicked in the butt to be motivated to do things. So that is a personality trait of yours that makes you really effective at helping and being productive there. But also your parents really wouldn't let you just sit there and
definitely not
do that. So again, this falls as much, if not more, on the parents who bring their kids in and then aren't able to
control them,
help them make this a constructive environment. They want to help so bad, but again, they just don't necessarily know, or they don't have like the follow through to like give them the tough love they need to be able to take advantage of the situation.
The heart's in the right place, but the plan of it is not there.
100%, because I feel like we've seen literally already like in this generation, and I've said this multiple times before other people, is that like our parents' generation, I feel like there is this huge this huge like thought of, I want to give my kids a better life than I had. And like,
that still holds true.
I think that's like, I feel like I see that reigning through our parent generation, so like the baby boomer generation, hardcore, and what I feel like that is created unintentionally, probably, but what it's created is a lot of environment where the young people don't know they're kind of helpless, so to speak. They don't know how to manage their personal finances. They don't know how to do things around the house. They don't know how to, when something goes wrong with my health insurance, I got to make some phone calls. how do I execute that and get that done and communicate with the right people? It just becomes so overwhelming for young people because this whole I want to give my kids a better life kind of turned into I'm going to do everything for my kids. And now here we are where a third of kids are now back with their parents. And again, I don't – there's fault to go around. There's definitely fault to go around, but it's a product of an environment more so than in anyone's particular
very well said
behavior. You know, and I think it's like a cultural thing, and really seeing that's becoming so common, it makes me super curious how it's going to play out. Yeah, dude.
I don't know. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way it's being executed from what I've seen is just not a good thing.
Yeah, they're probably taking all their investable money and throwing it in Bitcoin or collectibles.
I mean, at least they're investing in something, at least at that point.
But, I mean,
but
debatable. I'm just kidding.
To each his own. You pick your poison, right? I mean, so yeah, I mean, I just think that like it would just be cooler to see kind of the goals that are being held for themselves are wanting to be followed and executed, and utilizing that time. Again, it's going to get, people have talked about how hard it is to buy a house, and it's going to get harder, and how expensive rent is, which again, from what I've seen, it looks like rent has, given with the times, has been overall steady as far as how much it increases, yearly, given the market and how much things cost. And
so here's an idea. I'm just kind of like came to my mind here for all the parents out there who have their kids living with them. Whatever the cost is, put a pencil to it. Whatever the cost is to them living there in your house, kick them the heck out and give them that money. Literally, here, I'm going to help you the same way financially. Here's the money, the monetary value, $500, $1,000, $1,500, whatever it's costing you. I'm helping you that way. But the responsibility falls on you. You need to go out there and live on your own and do these things. And again, that is financially no different of a burden to me as a parent, but I'm at least kind of forcing that responsibility component, because that's really what it comes down to, right? Is that like, I feel like kind of what we talked about before with parents wanting the better lives for their kids, it's removed responsibility from them. I feel like young people don't have that essence of like, they don't feel responsible for things. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I have this thing I have to do, but if I don't do it, whatever. And that is such a dangerous.
It's the work complex again. We're so at a dangerous point. Nobody wants to work. I mean, people talk about it all the time. It's literally on TikTok and Instagram and Reels all the time about people I just fed up, can't work anymore, can't do it.
All the social media content creation jobs out there. I just want to sit there and be funny, but then even then it's like, that's a lot of work to record those videos and edit. I don't even want to do that. Mom, will you record my videos for me? I'm just kidding. But dude, that's like, you know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
It's just one of those. It definitely is where I definitely think it's going to, which I don't think is going to happen. I think it's going to require a little bit of a parents walking their kids to the end of the plank and just 300 Spartan kicking them off the side of the boat. Because again, I think that trend, I only see it getting worse over time. Because I think the younger we go in these generations, the more those variables we're talking about kind of start to show themselves. Mm-hmm. And then we get to the point where, again, like, yeah, it makes me really worried for where things could be potentially headed if that doesn't change. Because what I kind of see, and I've said this to my uncle, who's my uncle who's the CPA, and I basically said to him, in my opinion, what I kind of see shaping up is the baby boomer generation. They successfully create a life that their parents didn't have because they invested in 401ks. They bought properties when they were like $5, and they literally now still live in them to this day and have no mortgage, and now they're worth $5 million. Mm-hmm. So they've done really, really well for themselves. and that generation is so hardworking. They are generally frugal. They have the ability to, like I said, and they've been able to create this wealth, and they're going to leave it in inheritance to their kids. Their kids are going to be like, woo, have no clue what to do with this money, and all of that generational wealth is going to go, is going to get destroyed.
It's the wait for it complex. And again, I think that's also like another factor where it's like
the what complex?
The wait for it complex.
The wait for it.
I like
100%. I think
the wait for it complex.
Explain what you're saying, because I think I know what you're saying.
No. It's basically that. It's like, again, I do think that mentality is like the money is going to come to me eventually, and I think that is exactly what a lot of people have. Now, again, some people may not have that situation where it might be the opposite. The family might not be doing well, and there might be debt, and there might be things that get moved over to you. When you take that quote unquote inheritance.
People don't think about that.
People don't think about that.
Like, there's his money, but what about everything else?
The other side flip coin is, it's the opposite side of the spectrum. You're not in, the family that's, passing on is not putting you in the best situation. How are you prepared to tackle that? Or is it going to be pushed again? It's just going to be a cycle versus trying to get out and get ahead of it. Even going the route that you said of like, okay, you're going to give the kid, your child, X amount of money to live and do that all on their own and demand that independence and making the right decisions. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen.
It's true.
And
they
again,
can take the money and sit on their butt and do
all
nothing.
the money is that they're getting. They're good. They have room and board. So now all that extra money to them is cash flow.
Yeah.
They can spend it on subscriptions. They can spend it on whatever it is, and not thinking about the overall repercussions of this is the life that they're trying to set for you and giving you the tools, but you're not using them.
Yep. So the wait for it complex.
Did
you hear that somewhere? Or
that was me.
You made it up?
That made it up right now.
You literally you never heard
Dude,
that.
I was thinking about, I love
the wait for it
complex.
complex.
I love Hamilton, the great Broadway performance. If you haven't seen it, you can watch it on Disney Plus. I loved it, and there's a song,
unsponsored shout out.
Aaron Burr sings "Wait for It," where again you have Alexander Hamilton, who's always voicing his mind and speaking his opinions and doing things, and Burr is going with the "wait for it" mentality of he's going to wait for his moment. That moment never comes, or at least to the fruition that he wants it to. And again, I think we're all in different situations, but you need to find a way to maneuver through your situation and fine line it to make it better for you and your future legacy.
Bro, I love what just happened. That is a thing that we are coining here, and we are going to keep it because I love it.
We have to make sure
it is so appropriate and applicable.
We have to say "wait for it" complex.
We have
to add complex, otherwise I think we'll get hit.
1,000%. No, the wait for it complex is one of our things that we're going to coin here on this channel because again, that is exactly. I literally, the minute you said it, I was like, "That's hilarious," because it's like. Exactly. If it's a thing, that's exactly what we're talking about here. And that is, the example is totally appropriate because again, I think that's where it's like people just wait. And that's where you run into situations where again, because I've dealt with plenty of estate planning situations. And that's where you get into where when the family member passes, the emotions run really high, especially when, like, literally, again, like in your example, things aren't what they thought they were going to be. Either the family member has less money or has more debts or has more things that have been going on and they didn't know about it because mom and dad's financials is none of their beeswax at the end of the day. Like I said, so they didn't know about that. Now they're like angry because of what you're saying, because they literally were like, I'm going to wait for it. It'll be here. And then when it comes, you realize that your strategy of just waiting for it did not work out the way you thought it was going to work out. And now you are left angry at your deceased parents or whatever, which again, like the reality is there's so many emotions that go on during that process. The wait for it complex creates some really potentially bad emotions.
And again, look, if you do want to wait for it, if you have that in the back of your mind, and you may know things more about your family situation or whatever it is, or your own situation, that's fine. But also take some action now and protect yourself. Like, okay, yeah, we'll go with the wait for it complex, but I'm also going to just do this too.
Of course.
Just in case. As a backup, you have to looking at it from all the angles.
And literally, and a perfect example of that is when I do my financial plans for everyone, I basically, especially if they're young, I literally just completely throw Social Security out the window. I'm like, no Social Security. Perfect example of what you're talking about. How hopefully it will be there, and we can wait for it and know that it will come to us, but let's plan as if it's not going to be there. Mm-hmm. That way, when it comes, we're rocking and rolling instead of the other way around.
Whatever curveball it throws, whether it's positive or bad, you're ready.
Instead of we're waiting for it, we're doing nothing to plan. And when we get there, poof, Social Security's gone, and we're don't know what to do. So I think that's totally the wait for it complex.
The wait for it complex. Don't fall into the wait for it complex.
The wait for it complex, and that literally
be prepared.
Dude, it literally takes me to conversations I've had before where you have beneficiaries, right? Probably with the wait for it complex going on actively, and they are thinking to themselves, or they're telling me, "Oh, mom or dad's money should be invested like this. It's not growing as much as it could." And I look at them, I'm like, "Should I be investing it for the best of you or for the best of mom and dad?" Again, this is not your money, but they see it that way, right? They literally say, that's mine.
So do you feel that you see that often?
Often.
And
whether they approach me directly on it, and they approach me directly, and they have all these questions about, again,
that was a more subtle way of doing it.
Why my investments, my choice of investments for mom are not the same as what they're making and all the return that's left on the table. And then again, it's really simply look at them and say, is this your money or her money? Mm-hmm. Is her goal to grow and grow and grow, or is her goal to meet her expenses, be at no risk of living off anybody else and her money running out? Again, this is not your money. But when you have that wait for it mentality, you'll see that type of stuff start to rear its head, where again, they see it as their money, as their assets, as is mine, but it's not. Again, and that's where, again, we go back to the parents' generation. I want a better life for my kids. They put the blood, sweat, and tears into building it out if they were able to do so and fortunate enough to do so. And then you followed up by a generation of, I want to give them all this stuff. And now you have a generation of takers. You know what I mean? Again, it's just so.
It's definitely different.
Yes, it is. And going we were talking about social media before, and just how literally all the things going on, and I feel like that is
there's so many social media influencers.
So many.
It's every day I see I'm subject to scrolling through Instagram at night when I'm going to bed, and because there's
the doom scroll
in there. There's funny little clips. I like sending them to my friends and little references that only we'll get. There's funny stuff, but again, as far as content creation for this type of realm, I mean, it's just. There was one lady that was talking about how she works a corporate job and does this other job on the side that makes her equally as much, but she's just sitting there and I just can't do it anymore. I can't do the corporate lifestyle anymore. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get you. You're in a good spot. You should probably just leave that. And then she just keeps going. And I'm like, what?
It's not about the solution, John. It's about the problem.
Yes, exactly.
I want to pull up this. To see if I can figure out how to find this saved. Yes, I want to pull this post that I saved because literally I just was reading through it and I get sucked in so badly to like you're saying, because for me, especially as a CFP, I get sucked into watching what everybody has to say on these financial posts, because not only are there more influencers than ever, there are so many people giving financial advice out there on social media. So please be careful who you listen to. There are way too many people giving financial advice.
You said this best years and years ago. Any Joe Schmo can go up and post a video.
And furthermore, any moron can pick investments that go up, especially when a market is in a bull market. Dude, any of them can look like geniuses. Be super careful. Again, because we talked about yesterday, where are the people being hey, if you made a ton of money in this Bitcoin, you should probably sell some and take some of those profits. And here's how you can go about doing it to protect yourself and make sure you're hedging yourself and making sure you're not leaving all that equity on the table. Where are those people, right? They don't exist.
They don't exist.
Right? So let me read you
That's called negative, Alex, and we don't need that.
That's called financial responsibility, and we're more on the HODL, hold on for dear life method here. So get this guy out of here. We have a turn in the punch bowl. Dude, literally I hate HODL. I hate when people say that. Dude, anyway, so literally I'm reading this post where basically some guy says, this is why Bitcoin doesn't work as a medium of exchange. It's a post saying, if a merchant accepted $123K worth of Bitcoin yesterday, before he can pay his vendors today, it dropped to $115K. The merchant is short the money he needs to pay. It isn't complicated to understand why Bitcoin won't work as a medium of exchange. Now, what I want to read to you is the comments, John, on this.
Which, again, before you do that, like, just listening to that makes a lot of sense.
Dude, that is
brilliant.
It's not complicated.
What, 2 lines?
It's not complicated.
Simple, yeah.
Again, and
something that trades 24 hours, all nonstop.
If I accepted a Bitcoin as payment or partial, whatever, share portions of a Bitcoin, and I haven't converted it out yet back into dollars, I lost money.
Mm-hmm.
Or
gained.
But the point is that, again, okay, anyway, listen to these comments.
But I didn't mean that in the sense of like, looking at it from a positive. That's scary. That's terrifying.
No doubt. It is. And literally, but listen to how people rationalize. Because, again, what I'm reading is people who obviously are invested in Bitcoin and responding, or basically their peace of mind. Right, but listen to these people, again, listen how knowledgeable everybody is. No, he accepted 1 Bitcoin. He got 1 Bitcoin. He shouldn't care how much useless green papers he can get with his real currency. Okay? A European merchant, next comment, a European merchant accepted 120 worth of euros yesterday. Before he can pay his American vendor today, 100 euros dropped to $115. Now they're comparing it to normal currency, which, yes, does fluctuate, but not 10% a day unless something super significant happens. Mm-hmm. And again, you're talking Forex. So that, again, literally would be the equivalent of, yes, a U.S. vendor accepting euros as payment from a U.S. person. Why would they do that? Again, they wouldn't accept that currency risk because it makes no sense. Again, for the exact reason that we're saying. Again, they wouldn't take the euros. They say, go convert that into dollars, come back to my store and buy it. And that's what I'm basically arguing here with Bitcoin. Dude, yes, I could convert it into, but why wouldn't I make you convert it and come pay me with dollars? You take the risk. I'm not taking that risk. Again, and that's what people are not talking about here. Let's keep going down and read a couple more. Let me find a good one. Tell me you don't understand Bitcoin without saying you don't understand Bitcoin. This is a currency conversion thing, not a Bitcoin thing. If his vendors accepted Bitcoin as the base currency, it would be irrelevant because apparently his vendors don't care about the exchange rate of Bitcoin in this scenario. They only care about the fact that they got a Bitcoin because everybody loves the Bitcoin. It's a stock. You wouldn't pay for a car with 100 shares of Apple. Oh, this guy's agreeing. I like this guy. It's a stock. You wouldn't pay for a car with 100 shares of Apple. It never worked as intended, an alternate currency. Dude, again, it literally, and then people are saying it's like a store of value. Again, and I can take, but the point is that everybody has an opinion. Everybody's an expert. Everybody knows. And you see that more than ever on social media. Because again, there are so many people that have literally, probably these people alone who are literally out there saying, this is going to the moon. This is amazing. You should buy this. HODL, and it's everywhere. And again, everybody is an expert. And when I start to see that all over the place, I just see, again, kind of like wraps.
If everybody's an expert, no one's an expert.
and it kind of goes back into what we're talking about, like the wait for it mentality. This is kind of like, in a way, a different version of that because it's literally like, again, I don't have to do anything and I can make money. And you're the moron. I'm not the moron. We're all doing, again, everyone's drinking the juice. Again, at the end of the day, I know what I'm talking about. Rather than taking the time to educate yourself on proper financial habits. And dude, there's nothing wrong with taking some risk and going in on some of these investments and making money. But then learn how to like be better than that. I mean, that's amazing. You're doing good things by investing your money. And especially if you're making money, again, I wouldn't tell you to invest all that money in Bitcoin, but dude, you did it. You made money. Evolve from there. Yeah. Don't just literally.
What are you going to do with it?
Don't just literally be a sheep that literally listens to these influencers and gets caught up in all the hoopla. Dude, if you made real money, convert it into real money. Don't let the jabronis out there tell you, you don't understand what you have. If you're trying to think about it that way, you should be only doing this. You shouldn't be thinking like that. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They've made a lot of money. Their humility has gone out the window. Mm-hmm. They don't even consider a world where they're wrong because they've just gotten so overconfident and rewarded for their behavior.
Yeah, and again, we don't know what's going to happen when it comes to the currency and what's going to be taken and, all that down the road. But for all intents and purposes, at this time, the U.S. dollar is still what's making the world go round.
Yep.
Or the nation. Yep. So for now, let's go with the wait for it complex, but maybe, just maybe,
take little baby steps toward actually being financially responsible.
Yes. Because again, they're all falling into the same problem. They're all in the wait for it complex. What will Bitcoin do? What will happen? Will Bitcoin become the only form of currency in the United States, in the world?
But to that point right there, again, it literally is one thing that...
It's not right now, so...
And one thing that people cannot deny, because even those comments all trying to, trash that point or justify that, why that point is wrong and why they're not thinking about it right, the reality remains that nobody can sit here and tell me that when I give a Bitcoin to you for whatever, I am transferring the risk from myself to you. That's what's happening. That is not a currency. It just isn't, dude. Again, unless I get there's exchange rates and there's currency exchanges, yes, but dude, I should reasonably be able to operate my business. And if I'm going to operate in this currency, yes, I can literally pay the euros. And yes, it may have gone down a little bit, but at the end of the day, no one does that because, again, even in that scenario, there's risk. You're taking risk on to take it's like, no, convert into my currency, or the minute it comes in, it's converted immediately because, again, I'm not going to take that risk on. You can't run a business like that. You already have enough challenges as a business owner to keep your business afloat without worrying about the dollar I took being worth 50 cents. Mm-hmm. Again, that is like a risk that's completely out of your control. And again, one that you cannot take on especially as a small business owner, if you're going to have any sustainable hope of survival, because all it takes is one massive correction at the wrong time. And especially if you're holding, but even if not, even if it's like a quick exchange, again, the only way it works is if you are in the position to be able to take on that risk. Mm-hmm. If someone like Rudy from Alpha Investments, dude, that guy has enough money, he can get paid in Bitcoin and hold on to the Bitcoin because if Bitcoin goes to crap, it doesn't matter for him. It really doesn't. So again, he can afford to take that risk on. He knows the risk he's taking, and I can afford to take it. Most businesses in the country, you cannot afford to take that risk. Therefore, it is not a valid form of currency, plain and simple. If I'm a business owner, you got to convert it before you give it to me. I'm not going to take it and convert it. The only way I would take it is if I'm planning on holding it like an investment. And again, at that point, it literally is no different than me giving you shares of Apple for my purchases. No different. But again, when you say it like that, it sounds absolutely ridiculous. But I guess that could become a world where maybe let you shop with your stocks.
Can't buy this with cash, but
here's my, dude, again, maybe they let you do that and that's the crazy world we're headed for, but that's essentially what it is. And most businesses cannot afford the risk to take 5, 10, 20% haircuts in a very short period of time by accepting an investment as a currency. This can't happen. So anyway, dude, I love the topic for the day. I love the wait for it complex. That's going to be like my new thing.
I think that should be the title.
The wait for it complex. That is
of
the
this
title.
Episode.
That is the title of this episode. The wait for it complex.
The wait for it complex.
And dude, I'm going to coin it. Dude, I'm stealing it from you. And I'm going to shamelessly use it going forward.
Honestly, use it.
Do not fall victim to the wait for it complex. Seize your destiny.
Today.
Right now. Dig deep. Boosh. But yes, that was a fantastic conversation. I love the topic. You said Caleb Hammer is the guy. You always tell me to listen to this guy.
I like Caleb because, again, I think Dave Ramsey's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But I think with Caleb, what you're getting is a little bit more He's a little more vocal and a little harder, but I think he gears towards the generation we're talking about.
I think so too.
And it's kind of more of a
tough love.
Laundry, like just more of a extreme tough love. Like, I mean, he just goes in, he curses. He's not as, like, in the quote-unquotes of, like, professional interviews, it's not like that. But he is super professional, but it's just different than, like, the Ramsey show.
But the reality is, again...
I think he caters to a different type of audience.
But I think that is hugely important, right? Because, I think that really what I'm coming to realize is that when you're dealing, especially with young people who are investing in Pokemon cards and quadrupling their money and investing in Bitcoin and doubling and tripling their money over 6 months, at the end of the day, like, in order to get through to people like that, you almost, because of the confidence they build and like the lack of humility that they gain along the way of like, I know what I'm doing. I know more than you do. In order to blast through that, you kind of need to take out a hammer and smash them over the head. So I think that is totally what it sounds like, is he caters more toward a younger generation. And I feel like that's what's going to be necessary because, again, even with me, my whole like passive and like la-di-da-di style of like trying to be like friendly and like, the reality is if I go to a lot of young people and try to like express like, oh, you should be, worried about this risk or that risk, they're going to literally be like, loser, like that guy's a doofus. Like that's really what it is. So it kind of comes down to a point where I literally almost need to like evolve into a place where I'm like, you're wrong. You can do what you want, but it doesn't change the fact that you're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. It almost needs to be like that blunt and that straight onto them because, again, otherwise it has no chance of getting through. It's going to be like, bing, like deflected and parried away, and they're going to keep doing exactly what they were doing all the way along.
And again, dude, you watch these people talking, and they're so they feel so right, but they're in the situations that they're in, and they don't understand why they're in those situations because they think they're so right.
Dude, human
versus
psychology.
Really looking at it and saying, wow, I like to think I'm right, but maybe I'm not as correct on everything.
Yep. Insecurity is at an all-time high in the world. Thanks to good old Facebook and X and all these social medias, insecurity at an all-time high. And that is really a product of that, in my opinion, is that literally people, to accept that they're doing something not the best way is like too painful. It's like too painful to like accept it. So again, it literally is like, we're in a place where I feel like the only lessons people learn are the hard lessons. So.
And even that's kind of a stretch.
It is because they
people will lose their job for doing something wrong or whatever it is, and they don't learn from that error because they don't think that they were in the wrong. They just think the company effed them over.
Or with the stocks, like in that example, they get crushed. They're super upset. They literally are like, I'm never doing this again. And then things recover, and they forget they even said that. And they go right back to doing the behaviors they were doing before. And that's kind of how it ends up going. So we're doing our part little by little as much as we can. And hopefully we can continue to help people steer away from the, wait for it, complex.
Wait for it, complex.
All right, John, you got anything else for everybody?
No, that's it. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
Yes, I am
John and Alex, CFP.
Yes, the certified financial planner. Dude, appreciate the topics you brought to the table. That was a blast. And we will be here next week with a Finance AF podcast. Take care, everybody.
Bye.